All right, the court calls case 734-9B, the City of Providence versus Miss Tiffany Ambrosia. Is that correct? Ambrosia, like the food of the gods, an interesting name. Let's see if the conduct matches. Please step forward, young lady. Good morning. The record states you are here to answer for 2 citations. The first is for malicious mischief under City Ordinance 1611, and the second is for disorderly conduct under Ordinance 1627. These are not simple parking tickets, Miss Ambrosia. These are charges that speak to character. They speak to a person's respect for their community, for their neighbors, and ultimately for themselves. I've read the file. I always read the file. People come in here and think it's just a piece of paper, a case number, but it's not. It's a story. It's a moment in time where your life intersected with the law. And your story, young lady, is troubling. It's troubling not because of the monetary damage, which was minimal, but because of the intent behind it, the carelessness. No, that's not the right word. It wasn't careless. It was deliberate. It was callous. The report from Officer Miller, who is a good man, a patient man who has served this city for 15 years, states the following. I'm going to read it into the record. At approximately 14:30 hours on October 28th, I was dispatched to the Elmwood Memorial Gardens regarding a disturbance. The call came from a Mr. Arthur Henderson, a park volunteer. Upon arrival, I observed a young female, later identified as Miss Tiffany Ambrosia, engaged in a verbal altercation with Mr. Henderson, an elderly gentleman. Miss Ambrosia was shouting. My audio recorder was active. She was using profane and abusive language. I observed a large, dark, sticky substance spilled across a memorial bench and an empty plastic cup on the ground nearby. Mr. Henderson stated that he had witnessed Miss Ambrosia pour the contents of her cup, a large soda, directly onto the center of the bench and then discard the cup on the grass. He approached her and politely requested she clean up the mess. According to his statement, her response was to become immediately hostile. She refused to clean the mess and launched into a tirade, questioning his authority to speak to her. When I approached, Miss Ambrosia's demeanor did not change. She was dismissive of my presence, initially refusing to provide her name. She stated, and I quote, "This is so stupid, it's just a drink. Why are you harassing me? Don't you have actual criminals to catch?" When I informed her that the bench was a memorial for veterans of the Korean War, she rolled her eyes and said, "Whatever." Her attitude was one of extreme entitlement and disrespect for the location, the elderly gentleman, and law enforcement. I issued citations for malicious mischief due to the deliberate defacement of public property and disorderly conduct for her aggressive and abusive language in a public space. That's the officer's report. Dry, to the point, professional. He did his job. He kept his composure when faced with a level of disrespect that would make most people lose their temper. But a police report doesn't have eyes, Miss Ambrosia. It doesn't see the whole picture. We're lucky in this modern age to have technology that does. We have the security footage from the park, and I watched all 12 minutes of it. From the moment you walked into that beautiful, quiet garden, a place people go for peace, until the moment Officer Miller placed the ticket in your hand. And what I saw on that screen, what I saw turns Officer Miller's professional report into a very sad motion picture. You walk into the frame, not with the stride of someone enjoying a beautiful afternoon, but with the swagger of someone who owns the world. You're on your phone, of course. The world in your hand is more important than the world at your feet. You barely look up. You're scowling. You almost trip over the leg of a bench where a young mother is reading to her child. You don't apologize. You shoot her a look as if the bench and the mother and the child were inconveniencing you. You continue your walk. You stop in the center of the Memorial Plaza. There are several benches there, clean benches, benches donated by families in this city, benches where people sit and reflect, and you chose one in particular, not just any bench, a bench with a small polished brass plaque on it. The camera is far away, but I had the clerk zoom in. We enhanced the image. The plaque reads, "In honor of the brave men of Providence who served in the Korean War, their courage is not forgotten." You stood in front of that plaque. You read it. I can see your lips move. You looked at it for a full 3 seconds, so you cannot stand here today and tell me you didn't know what it was. You knew, and then you did something that I have not seen in my 25 years on this bench. You tipped your extra-large 32-ounce cup of dark cola, and you slowly, deliberately poured it all over the seat. Not an accident, not a slip. You turned the cup upside down and held it there until every last drop had oozed out, forming a disgusting, sticky puddle right where a person would sit, right over that plaque. Then you shook the last few drops out, tossed the cup onto the perfectly manicured lawn just a few feet from a trash receptacle, and you were about to walk away. And that's when Mr. Henderson appears. He's an older gentleman. You can see from his walk he has a bit of a limp. He's carrying a small bag for collecting stray litter. A volunteer. He's not paid. He's there because he cares about the park. He cares about the city. He's a man who is building up his community, not tearing it down. He points to the mess you made. He's not aggressive. His body language is calm. He's a grandfather probably trying to talk to a granddaughter. And your reaction, it was instantaneous. Your hands go on your hips. Your face contorts into a mask of indignation, as if he is the one who has done something wrong. You're shouting. I can't hear the words on the silent video, but I can see the venom in your posture. I can see the way you jab your finger at him. A man old enough to be your grandfather. A man who, as I later learned, served on a destroyer in the United States Navy for 30 years. A man who was giving his free time, his Saturday, to make the world a little cleaner. And you, in your profound arrogance, decided he was your subordinate, that he was nothing. When Officer Miller arrived, your disrespect only escalated. You treated his uniform, the symbol of this city's order and safety, as an annoyance. You rolled your eyes. You sighed dramatically. You even, at one point, turned your back on him while he was speaking to you. So now you stand here, in a court of law, and your posture is the same. You've been sighing. You've been looking at the clock. You have the look of a person who believes this is all a tremendous waste of your valuable time. Let me ask you something, Miss Ambrosia. Do you feel any remorse for what you did, for your behavior? The judge pauses, leaning forward, listening intently to an unheard response. No, don't look at your lawyer. I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to you. You are the one who poured the soda. You are the one who screamed at an old man. Look at me and answer the question. Do you feel sorry? Another pause. I feel sorry that it's become such a big deal. That's your answer. That is not remorse. Remorse is feeling sorry for the act itself, not for the consequences. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. You're annoyed that this little incident is interrupting your life. Let me tell you about another life. Let me tell you about my father. My father was a fruit peddler, then a milkman. He came to this country from Italy with nothing in his pockets but hope. He worked every day of his life. He wasn't a god from Mount Olympus, Miss Ambrosia. He was a man of the earth. He drove a milk truck. Big sign on the side of the truck said, "No riders. Company policy." But my brother and I, we were always riders. He'd wake us up in the dark, cold morning and take us on his route. Not because he needed our help. We were too small. He took us because he wanted us to see what he saw. He wanted us to learn. And what I learned on that milk truck is the foundation of everything I do in this courtroom. My father had a rule. It wasn't the company's rule. It was his rule. The company policy was clear. If a family didn't pay their milk bill for 2 weeks, you cut them off. No exceptions. But my father, he had his own policy. He knew every family on his route. He knew their stories. He knew who had lost a job, whose child was sick. And if a family had children, he would never, ever stop delivering the milk. He didn't care if they were 2 weeks behind or 2 months behind. He'd say the children need their milk. Sometimes he would even put $1 or $2 of his own money towards their bill and tell his boss, "See, they're trying to pay." He'd stand up to his superiors for people who had nothing. He wasn't a judge, he wasn't a lawyer, he was a milkman, but he understood justice better than many people I've met with law degrees. He understood that rules without compassion are just tyranny. He understood that a community is a network of obligations we have to one another. He was delivering milk, yes, but he was also delivering kindness. He was delivering respect. That milk to those families wasn't just a beverage. It was a sign that someone cared. It was a sign that they were part of a community that wouldn't let them fall through the cracks. It was a symbol of their dignity. Now let's talk about that bench. That bench you so casually defiled. It's not just a piece of wood and metal. Like my father's milk bottle, it's a symbol. It's a symbol of sacrifice. It's a promise from our city to the men who fought in a war halfway across the world in a cold and brutal conflict, that their sacrifice would not be forgotten. Young men from Providence, some not much older than you are now, went to that place. They left their families, their jobs, their lives. They endured hardship we can't even imagine. Some of them never came back. Their names are on other memorials. That bench is for the ones who did come back, but who left a piece of their youth, their innocence in the frozen hills of Korea. It's a place for their families to sit, for their children and grandchildren to connect with a past that is part of their story. It's a place for a stranger, a student, a tourist, to sit and read that plaque and for a fleeting moment think about the cost of the freedom they enjoy. The freedom to walk in a park, the freedom to buy a soda, the freedom to have an opinion and to speak it. You took that symbol, that sacred promise, and you poured your garbage on it. In that one simple, ugly act, you said to those veterans, "You don't matter." You said to their families, "Your sacrifice is meaningless." You said to this city, "Your history is my trash can." And then when a man who embodies that very history of service, Mr. Henderson, the Navy veteran, had the quiet courage to ask you to show a little respect, you savaged him with your words. You, a young woman with your whole life ahead of you, a life of comfort and privilege I can only guess at, stood there and verbally assaulted a man who has given more to this country than you have given a moment's thought to. You told him to get a real job. Let's talk about that. He had a real job. For 30 years he served on warships, protecting the sea lanes that allow the goods that stock the stores where you buy your clothes and your phone to arrive safely. He worked in engine rooms, hot and loud. He was away from his family for months on end. He did his duty, and now, in his retirement, he chooses to volunteer. He chooses to continue to serve. His work in that park, picking up other people's trash. Your trash is more real, more honorable than 1,000 corporate jobs that do nothing but move numbers around on a screen. He is contributing. He is caring. What did you contribute that day, Miss Ambrosia? You contributed ugliness. You contributed disrespect. You contributed to the slow decay of civil society. You think you can do anything. I see it in your eyes. It's a look I've seen before. It's the arrogance of the unchastened, the belief that the rules are for other people, that money or status or privilege puts you above the simple, decent obligations of being a human being, living in a society with other human beings. My father also told me something else when I told him I wanted to be a lawyer. I was 12 years old. I said, "Dad, I'm going to be a lawyer." And he looked at me with his hands calloused from carrying crates of milk, and he said, "Be a good lawyer, and remember, you can't charge poor people like us. You make it up with the rich people." I've never forgotten that. My law office has never charged a poor family. But the second part of his advice is important too. You make it up with the rich people. That wasn't about money. It was about accountability. It means that those who have more, those who have been given every advantage, have a greater responsibility. They are held to a higher standard, not a lower one. Your privilege is not a shield, Miss Ambrosia. It is an obligation to behave better, an obligation to lead by example, an obligation to be grateful, and you have shown nothing but ingratitude. You have squandered your privilege on petty cruelty and breathtaking arrogance. You believe that because you can afford the fine, the act itself is meaningless. You think you can just pay your way out of this, that a few $100s is the price of disrespect and your father can cover the bill. Well, you're in for a surprise, because here in this courtroom we don't just balance checkbooks, we balance equities, and the equity here is wildly out of balance. On one side we have a lifetime of service, of quiet dignity, of community building. On the other side we have a moment of spoiled, selfish, destructive behavior. A fine would do you no good. It would teach you nothing. It would only reinforce your cynical belief that everything has a price tag. You would walk out of here unchanged, confirmed in your opinion that you are above it all. So we are not going to do that. I am not going to allow you to buy your way out of this lesson. You are going to learn what Mr. Henderson already knows. You are going to learn what the men honored on that bench knew. You are going to learn about service. The charge of malicious mischief carries with it a potential sentence of up to 60 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. The disorderly conduct carries another 30 days and a $500 fine. That's 90 days in prison and $1,500. I'm going to sentence you to the maximum, 90 days, $1,500. The judge pauses, letting the weight of the sentence fill the room, watching the defendant's reaction. However, I am going to suspend that sentence. The jail time, the fine, it will all hang over your head. It will be a sword dangling by a thread, and whether it falls or not depends entirely on you. It depends on what you do for the next 6 months, because you, Miss Ambrosia, are going to get a real job. Your new job is going to be reporting to Mr. Arthur Henderson at the Elmwood Memorial Gardens. You will report to him every Saturday and Sunday morning at 8 a.m. for the next 6 months, rain or shine. You will wear work clothes. You will not be on your phone. Your first task every single one of those mornings will be to clean every single bench in that Memorial Plaza. You will scrub them until they shine. You will polish every single brass plaque, including the one you defiled. You will do this under Mr. Henderson's direct supervision. You will address him as Sir or Mr. Henderson. You will do whatever other tasks he assigns you, picking up litter, weeding the flower beds, raking leaves, without complaint. If you are late once without a doctor's note that I have personally verified, you will serve the 90 days. If you are disrespectful to Mr. Henderson in any way, if you roll your eyes, if I hear of any sighing or complaint, you will serve the 90 days. But that's not all. You're going to get an education. You have shown a profound ignorance of what it means to be a citizen of this country, so you are going to learn. You are ordered to visit the local Veterans of Foreign Wars post. You will make appointments to interview no fewer than 5 veterans who served in our nation's armed forces. You will ask them about their service. You will listen to their stories. You will write a 2,000-word report summarizing what you have learned from them. You will focus on the themes of sacrifice, duty, and honor. That report will be submitted to this court, and you will read it aloud from that podium at the end of your 6 months of service. So for the next 6 months, you will spend your weekends cleaning up the mess you made, both literally and figuratively. You will learn humility by scrubbing benches. You will learn respect by listening to your elders. You will learn what it costs to keep a park, a city, a country clean and safe and free. You look shocked. You look appalled. You look like this is the worst thing that has ever happened to you. Good. It's supposed to. You're young. You're healthy. You have your whole life in front of you. This is just a small bump in the road. But it is a critical one. You are at a crossroads, Miss Ambrosia. One path leads to a life of continued arrogance and entitlement, a lonely life where your only measure of worth is what you own, not who you are. The other path, the harder path, the path of service and humility, leads to a life of character. I'm giving you a chance to change the story that's written in this file today, a chance to become someone better than the person I saw in that video. Don't waste it. I don't want to see you back here, but if I do, I promise you, you will serve every last one of those 90 days. This isn't about punishment, it's about education. Your parents have clearly given you a great deal, but they seem to have forgotten to teach you humility. They have failed to teach you respect, so the court will have to do it. Consider this your tuition. Classes in session, case closed.